Welcome back to Horrifying Stories. 29-year-old Harrison Okene, who worked as a cook on a tugboat, woke up from his sleep to use the toilet when suddenly, giant waves slammed their ship. Harrison was hurled around inside as the boat capsized before it completely sank into the depths of the ocean along with 11 other crew members. This is their horrifying story. Viewer discretion is advised. In May 2013, a tugboat dubbed as Jaskin 4 set off from Nigeria to a huge oil tanker 30 kilometers off coast. Weather has been unusually rough, and so it was sent out to support the loaded oil tanker as it was moored onto the oil platform of Chevron. Jaskin 4 had a total of 12 crew on board, and Harrison Okene was one of them. At dawn on May 26, 2013, being the boat's cook, he got up early as usual so he could prepare everyone's breakfast. Before anything else, he went to the toilet first, like how he always does every single day they were in the middle of the ocean. However, a few minutes before 5 in the morning, suddenly a huge wave crashed into their tugboat. He was still sitting on the toilet when their boat got slammed against the ocean, and the raging waves continued to tower over the boat. With much struggle, Harrison pulled up his boxers as he got hurled around inside, while the boat was continuously being tossed over by the strong waves. Not long after, the boat capsized and water started making its way inside the boat. Harrison tried to find a way to escape, but sadly, the boat was securely locked. The area was known to be prone to pirate attacks, so it was a normal security measure for boats that ply that route to securely lock the doors. This way they could protect them from being robbed or worse, harmed by the pirates. It turned out that day, it wasn't safety from the pirates that should have been of utmost concern, but their safety during emergencies that needed immediate evacuation. In just a matter of minutes, the boat started sinking in the deep and cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Harrison ended up in a vacant cabin for ship officers and stayed there until a surge of water pushed him into the room's own toilet. At that point, the boat had already completely sank to the bottom of the ocean floor. Now, at 30 meters deep into the sea, Harrison's chances of ever escaping were very slim, if not none at all. However, in a miraculous turn of events, Harrison then found an air pocket allowing him to breathe oxygen 30 meters underwater without breathing equipment. He also found 2 mattresses which he grabbed and positioned on top of each other and sat on top of it so he could sit comfortably, securing his head in the air pocket. Refusing to lose hope, despite knowing the boat was already at the bottom of the ocean, Harrison still kept looking for a way out. He had all reasons to panic, but he kept himself calm. His presence of mind allowed him to think clearly in spite of the situation. To ensure that he won't get lost as he tried to look for a way, he tied guidelines using a rope he had found so he could easily find his way back to the air pocket. He knew that the air pocket wouldn't be there for so long. The freezing water continued to rise, so the air pocket gradually became smaller and smaller as time continued ticking. It will also only be a matter of time until the carbon dioxide that he exhaled would completely fill the air pocket, leaving him with no more oxygen to breathe in. He struggled and prayed as he continued to fight for his life. And like a flash of light, thoughts of his family, most especially his wife, filled his mind. In the darkness, Harrison wondered if he could make it at all. As he sat there not knowing what to do, and how he could possibly go out, Harrison heard a sound that seemed like a big fish had bumped and began to bite on the boat. He feared those were sharks, but he couldn't see what it was, so he kept himself alert and carefully watched the dark waters that were right before him. 60 hours after the boat sank, more and more knocking sounds were heard. Then, to his disbelief, he saw light coming through before him. It was Nico van Heerden, a South African diver who was one of the team of divers from a global diving company called DCN. The team was hired by Chevron and West African Ventures and were tasked to retrieve the bodies of the 12 crew on board. Not wanting to scare him off, Harrison carefully moved and reached his hand out to Nico.
Ceiling, yeah? Okay. What's that? Okay.
He gently tapped Nico's equipment to catch his attention. When Nico saw the hand didn't belong to a dead body, he he exclaimed despite having regulators on. Nico had this underwater communication line where he was able to talk to Alex Gibbs, the life support technician on duty at the surface. Alex could also see what was going on at the bottom through the underwater camera attached to Nico's body, which captured the miraculous discovery in real time. On the other end of the line, Alex was thrilled to see someone alive after having already seen 3 bodies recovered from other areas of the boat. However, like in any rescue operation, finding Harrison was a great milestone in itself, but taking him out of the water was a totally different ordeal. Alex could see from the video that Harrison's CO2 levels were critically high at that point. He had already been panting and his seemingly blank eyes manifested his dire condition. He sent them an air hose underwater so Harrison could breathe fresh oxygen. Then, they put him on an oxygen-helium mix to also balance out the oxygen in his body. Aside from that, Harrison also faced the risk of hypothermia, not to mention the fact that it has already been almost 3 days that Harrison hasn't had any food or water intake. Getting him out of the water was extremely necessary but never easy. Harrison had 0 diving experience, and because he had been at such a depth for a long period, the journey back to the surface would take long since multiple and long decompression stops are needed to prevent decompression sickness. So after wearing a special suit, Harrison, accompanied by rescue divers, started the ascent. He passed out as they were making their way up, and after multiple decompression stops, as soon as he reached the surface, he was placed inside a diving bell before being transferred to a hyperbaric decompression chamber. He spent a total of 3 days in the chamber, and Alex Gibbs was the one who assisted and attended to him during those days. Apparently, while he was there in the air pocket, Harrison thought that he was the only one that got trapped in the boat and the rest of the crew were able to escape on time. However, it was the exact opposite. It turned out he was the sole survivor of this horrifying incident. 10 bodies have been recovered while the 11th crew remains missing to this day. Needless to say, Harrison was overwhelmed with gratitude for being alive, although it hasn't been easy ever since that horrifying ordeal. The trauma brought the worst nightmares to Harrison. He recounted that sometimes he would wake up at night feeling like he was starting to sink into the water along with his bed. Yet in spite of the trauma, around 2 years after, Harrison eventually became a certified commercial diver in 2015, overcoming the fears he had developed because of the incident. Thank you for making it this far. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you think about this story. We would love to hear from you. Again, thank you and see you on the next one.